The title of the presentation is Lord Murugan as the Spiritual Guru, Part 2. Before looking in depth at Lord Murugan's role in the world's religions and the relationship of the worship of Lord Murugan to Lord Shiva, I wanted to share some thoughts on our three kinds of temples. It would be hard to overestimate the power and importance of the temple in Hindu culture and spiritual practice, the home of God to which we go for solace and connection with the divine. When we think of temples, we naturally think of community temples, those always welcoming, often ornate, magical spaces, which I like to call Pura Mandiras. Worshipping in these temples is a central practice in Hinduism. But there is a broader, seldom discussed understanding of the temple in Sanatana Dharma, which embraces two other sacred places of communion as equally important. One is the home shrine, or Griha Mandira, and the other is the soul temple, or Atma Mandira. Hindu communities revolve around the local temple, which serves as the hub of culture, worship, festivals, and more. For the devout, the ideal is to attend the puja at the community temple daily, or at least once a week, and to participate in the major holy festivals celebrated within its precincts. This allows us to experience the blessings of God and the gods regularly, and to enjoy frequent fellowship with other devotees. A Hindu temple's divinic rays have the power to transform the course of karma, open inner doors to new opportunities, assuage long-held hurts, and provide inner visions equaling the fullness of devotion. Regular worship at the community temple deepens our humility and our devotion to God. It also purifies and lifts our energy into higher chakras. As I mentioned in Part 1, though occasionally a devotee may have a vision of the deity, the more common way we experience him is as uplifting, peaceful, divine energy or Shakti that radiates out from the image. These blessings of the deity are called Sanidjam and refer to the radiance and blessed presence of Shakti in and around the temple. It is easiest to feel these blessings at the high point of the puja when the flame is held high and the bells ring the loudest. We had an interesting experience in this regard. At our Hawaii monastery, we have a temple to Lord Nataraja that was founded in 1973. Following tradition, 12 years later, in 1985, we had a Kumbhabhishekam or reconsecration ceremony. The priest took the power of the temple into the kumbhas and placed them in a tent under a nearby tree. The change was dramatic. The temple that had felt like a holy place a few hours before now felt like an empty warehouse. There was no sense of sanctity at all left in the building. The priest had removed it and placed it under the tent. This experience impressed me deeply as to what the special blessing, energy, Shakti, Sanidjam, darshan of the deity that is usually present in the Hindu temple feels like, and how blessed we are to be in its presence. In addition to worship, we can also perform service, seva or karma yoga, at the temple and accrue even more spiritual benefits. The Tirumandaram, an ancient scripture by Rishi Tirumular, lists a number of traditional chores in verse 109. The simple temple duties, lighting the lamps, picking flowers, lovingly polishing the floors, sweeping, singing the Lord's praise, ringing the bell, and fetching ceremonial water, these constitute the Dasa Marga, path of the servant. Additionally, those who are qualified can volunteer to teach Hinduism to the youth. If you are finding fulfillment by worshiping in your community temple, don't stop there. Consider extending your devotional life to the Griha Mandira, or home shrine. The ideal Hindu home centers around the home shrine, a special room set aside and maintained to create a temple-like atmosphere, which holds us close to our spiritual goals and practices. In this holy space, we conduct puja, read scripture, perform sadhana, sing bhajan, and do japa. Here we can always feel the presence of God and the gods, whom we honor especially in the morning and evening and before meals, which we offer to them before we partake. The home shrine works best when it is an entire room. That way it can be strictly reserved for worship and meditation, unsullied by worldly talk or non-spiritual activities. This is the ideal, which builds a spiritual vibration over the years. When that is not possible, it should at least be a quiet corner of a room and more than a simple shelf or closet. In this sacred space, we light a lamp, ring a bell, and pray daily. The most devout hold a formal worship ritual or Atmarta puja. This regular daily worship is called upasana. How elaborate should the puja conducted in the home shrine be? It can vary from short and simple to long and complex. The late and renowned Sri 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 Chandrasekharenda Saraswati Mahaswamiji of Kanchipuram Kamakoti Pidam commented, "Every family must perform puja to Ishvara. Those who find it convenient to do so may conduct elaborate types of puja after receiving proper initiation into them. Others need perform only a brief puja not lasting more than 10 minutes or so. Office goers must offer at least this brief worship. The sacred bell must ring in every home." Performing your own individual puja in the home shrine with sincerity and regularity unfolds a relationship with the divine that is likened to that of a child to a parent, called Satputra Marga, or path of the dutiful child. The Tirumandaram summarizes, puja, reading the scriptures, singing hymns, performing japa, and unsullied austerity. Truthfulness, restraint of envy, and offering of food. These and other self-purifying acts constitute the flawless Satputra Marga. If you are finding fulfillment by worshiping in the home shrine, don't stop there. Consider worshiping in the Atma Mandira if you are not already practicing yogic meditation. The third place of worship is the temple within the body, which I call the Atma Mandira. My Paramaguru Yogaswami of Jaffna, Sri Lanka said, "God lives in this house built of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Therefore, keep the house clean and the mind pure, and conduct yourself with calmness." His disciple Markandeya Swami recounted his Guru's instructions. Yogaswami said, "Leave your relations downstairs, your will, your intellect, your senses. Leave the fellows and go upstairs by yourself and find out who you are. Then you can go downstairs and be with the fellows." Yogaswami was describing the internal form of worship, meditation in the sacred chamber of the soul, wherein we quiet our physical body, still our astral and mental bodies, become centered in our immortal spiritual body of light, and strive for, discover, and ultimately merge with God within. Through meditation, we temporarily set aside our mundane concerns and experience our refined spiritual nature that is always serene and centered, the source of intuition, solace, and strength for all our activities. Consistent practice of meditation has the power to increase our concentration, observation, understanding, compassion, appreciation, cooperation, mental acuity, emotional stability, willpower, and our ability to see God in all things and all people. God abides in all three of these temples. In the community temple, he is worshipped in elaborate formal ways, mystical ways that bring his Shakti or power into the inner chamber to bless the world. In the home shrine, he is worshipped in simple, loving ways, which bring his presence into the home to guide the family through karma's sometimes difficult passages and bless their pursuits. In the chamber of the heart, he is worshipped as the life of life, as the self of ourself, to awaken peace of mind, insight, inspiration, and eventually enlightenment. The three temples stand as a central pillar of Hindu life. Successful worship in the three temples over many lifetimes culminates in jnana, divine wisdom, which we see in an enlightened being, a soul in its maturity, immersed in the blessed realization of God while living out earthly karma. In verse 1444 of the ancient yogic text, Tirumandaram, Rishi Tirumar summarizes our thoughts. Being the life of life is splendorous jnana worship, achieving jnana. Beholding the light of life is great yoga worship, meditation. Giving life by invocation is external worship, performing puja. Adoration that displaces anger is charya worship. Let's look next at the presence of Lord Murugan in some of the world's major religions. Hinduism is not the only religion in which Lord Murugan is found. As would seem quite natural, he is also found in the Buddhist religion. This is a Japanese image of the six-faced deity which has the familiar peacock, but distinctive Japanese facial features. As would be expected, Lord Murugan's brother, Lord Ganesha, also made the journey to Japan, where he is known as Kangitan. In Shingon Buddhism, Murugan is called Skanda, Idaten, and Kumaratan. In Mahayana Buddhism, he is called Skanda and Wei Tuo. Skanda's function is to protect the monasteries, the monks, and the religion's teachings. In Chinese temples, Skanda faces the statue of the Buddha in the main shrine. The writer and devout Murugan Bhaktar Patrick Harrigan was an associate of Swami Gauribala, also known as German Swami, from 1972 until his passing in 1984. This interaction took place in Sri Lanka. Patrick has done extensive research on Murugan in different world religions, ancient and modern. Here is a photograph of an older Patrick carrying kavadi with his daughter looking on. From his research, Patrick concluded that Murugan is found in Christianity and the other Abrahamic religions as the archangel Saint Michael. Saint Michael is considered a protector and the leader of the army of God against the forces of evil. In the Bible, it describes him gathering together a mighty army of angels who are on God's side to defeat the fallen archangel Lucifer and his army of fallen angels. Lucifer had become extremely proud of the abilities he had acquired to the point of feeling he should be in charge rather than God. This, of course, is an interesting parallel to the legend of Lord Murugan defeating Surapadma. The asura Surapadma had developed great pride in his abilities and taken the Devas captive. Lord Shiva asked Lord Murugan to destroy the asuras and free the Devas from their cruel bondage. Lord Murugan reached Trichandur with his huge army and encamped. He sent his lieutenant Veerabahu to the asuras as an emissary and asked Surapadma to release the Devas. Since Surapadma turned down the request, war was started. The intense battle continued for a few days. During the first 5 days of the war, the brothers of Surapadma and all the other asuras perished. On the 6th day in the battle between Lord Murugan and Surapadma, Surapadma became a gigantic mango tree which threatened to smother the world. Murugan cleft this tree with his veil, and Surapadma then took shape as a peacock and a rooster, both of which charged at Murugan. However, the deity tamed both with a single loving glance. To commemorate the defeat of the Asuras, Murugan ordered that the peacock and rooster should respectively become his mount and emblem of his standard. Thus Surapadma's gift of immortality by Shiva was recognized, and he became in the form of two birds that transformed them submissive symbols of Murugan's dominance. Symbolically, Surapadma's great pride had been turned into submission to the divine by the power of Murugan's veil. Lord Murugan's six-day war with the Asuras and victory over Surapadma is celebrated yearly as the six-day festival of Skanda Shashti, celebrated on the 6 days after the new moon in October-November. Some Murugan Bhaktars take a fasting vow for this festival as a way to intensify their worship. A typical vrata is to fast during the day, attend the temple festival ceremonies in the evening, and only afterwards have a meal. It is a natural time to beseech Lord Murugan to take away your pride and replace it with submission and humility, as he did for Surapadma. Special worship on a small scale also occurs on the 6th Tithi after the new moon in the 11 other months. Some Murugan Bhaktars also observe a vrata on the monthly 6th Tithi. While we are talking about angels and Christianity, sometimes Christians criticize Hinduism because some of its gods have animal heads, such as Lords Ganesha and Hanuman. An effective response is to point out that four-headed angels called cherubims were central in early Christianity. In the Bible's book of Revelation, John writes, "I saw a throne standing in heaven, and the one who was sitting on the throne. In the center, grouped around the throne itself, were four animals with many eyes in front and behind. The first animal was like a lion, the second like a bull, the third animal had a human face, and the fourth animal was like a flying eagle. Each of the four animals had 6 wings. The description matches an account by Jewish prophet Elijah centuries before. Importantly, these beings are the most powerful beings in the pantheon, closest to the Creator." Here is a more modern-looking version of a cherubim. Lord Murugan is not confined to religion. In Dancing with Shiva, Gurudeva mentions he helps kings as well. Gurudeva states, "He is the king of kings, the power in their scepters. Standing behind the temporal majesty, he advises and authorizes. His veil empowering the ruler, justice prevails, wisdom enriches the minds of citizens, rain is abundant, crops flourish, and plenty fills the larders." Next, to better understand the relationship between the worship of Lords Ganesha, Murugan, and Shiva, we will look at Gurudeva's description of the 8 great Shaktis of His Majesty, Lord Shiva. Each of the 8 Shaktis of God Shiva has a color. The first Shakti is yellow, the second is royal or sapphire blue, the ruby red third Shakti is beautiful to behold, the fourth is green, the emerald Shakti, the fifth orange, the sixth light blue, the seventh lavender coming into purple, His Majesty's royal color, and the 8th is white, fading into colorlessness. These are similar to the colors that manifest in a rainbow. The first Shakti, yellow in color, emanates the feeling of love and compassion that the good person naturally has for his or her immediate family. Love and harmony within the nuclear or joint family is most important to all Hindus, and the beautiful feeling when it exists is the first Shakti of the Lord. The second Shakti, sapphire blue in color, is the same feeling but extended to relatives, neighbors, and friends, all who are part of the extended family. This is more difficult to hold, as inharmonious conditions often arise. These are called asuric forces, which come between people, causing misunderstanding and upsets. Through prayers and through worship, the first Shakti can be extended beyond the circumference of the immediate family. The third Shakti, ruby red in color, is the same love extended to all persons one has dealings with in the external world, business associates, a casual merchant, and the public at large. It is honest and harmonious relationships, conducting the business of trade and dealings in goods, finance, and the distribution of the wealth of the world. The fourth Shakti, emerald green in color, brings through the creative, intuitive mind the love of culture and all that it brings, religious formalities, and the respect and appreciation of discipline. Here we find the vibration of religion, which brings as a boon creativity in music, art, drama, and the dance. It is through the fourth Shakti that religious practices are performed consistently. The fifth Shakti, orange in color, extends into the wonderful feelings obtained by the outpouring of love of God Shiva and the gods of Shaivism. This gives the added boon of being able to be charitable. For those who love God, perform charity, build shrines and temples, and participate in the overflowing generosity of their abundance, earning the good dharma, fine merit accrued for this life and passed on to the next. The sixth Shakti, light blue in color, is only felt in yogic meditation. When the crown of the head becomes the temple, the high-pitched E tone ringing within it like a temple bell, and the Kundalini awakened, the camphor light aglow. The sixth Shakti entrusted to Lord Murugan is that of yoga, the awakening of the Kundalini, which should never be vied for until the first 5 vibratory rates of the Lord have been maintained and are a natural part of one's life. The seventh Shakti, lavender in color, is the great ray of the giving forth of spiritual teachings from the brink of the Absolute, at which point Lord Shiva and his son Lord Murugan merge. This great Shakti is held by the rishis and the saints of our religion. Lord Murugan himself is the preceptor of all of our religion. The yogi, thus locked in his own yoke, finds himself seated on the fifth Shakti, supported by the lotus petals of the other 4. In his state of yoga, he then merges into jnana, and answers to his deepest philosophical questions come crystal clear as the seventh Shakti penetrates the Akashic ether of his mind. The eighth Shakti, white in color, is the outpouring power felt when mind collects itself, when it comes out of the self, Parashiva, and then forms into manifest knowledge, the seventh Shakti. The seventh and eighth Shaktis are the Shiva Shakti, the great dance of creation. These vibratory rays can be felt through your body, especially the first 5. They should always be with you. Lord Ganesha, Mahadeva, son of Shiva Shakti, is the governing Lord over these first 5 Shaktis, and in his multi-face form is shown as having 5 faces. It is important to always worship Lord Ganesha first, before worshipping Lord Murugan or Lord Shiva. For in doing so, you acknowledge the mind, the universal mind, the existence of the 5 rays he's guardians of. And then he releases you, or the conscious and subconscious mind releases your awareness to your soul, so to speak. A little more obscure are the 6th and 7th Shaktis. Lord Murugan, Mahadeva, son of Shiva, is the Lord of these 2 Shaktis, and in his multi-faced form is shown as having 6 faces. It is important to worship Lord Murugan before beginning the worship of Lord Shiva, as an awakened Kundalini is needed to reach into the extremely subtle inner realms in which Lord Shiva resides. Our lexicon defines Kundalini as she who is coiled, serpent power, the primordial cosmic energy in every individual, which at first lies coiled like a serpent at the base of the spine, and eventually, through the practice of yoga, rises up the Sushumna Nadi. As it rises, the Kundalini awakens each successive chakra. Returning to the 8 Shaktis, the 8 Shakti of outpouring power felt when mind collects itself, when it comes out of the self, is that of God Shiva himself. Emanating out from the 8 Shakti come forth the other 7. In Gurudeva's teachings, he often stressed the importance of building a religious foundation, making manifest the first 5 Shaktis in your life through the worship of Lord Ganesha. Ganesha worship is the age-old religious pattern performed through eons of time. Not uncommon too, but found in each of the 11 religions of the world and multitudes of faiths. The height of religious experience in many religions is to uphold the first 5 Shaktis. And this is basically the extent of religion. For once religion is secured in one's life, yoga, finding the temple within, going into that temple, merging within the sanctum sanctorum with Supreme God Shiva, is the next and most natural unfoldment. Most importantly, coming out of the practice of yoga, the Hindu who practices yoga has the firm foundation of the vibratory rates flowing through his nerve system of the first 5 Shaktis of Lord Shiva, maintained within him through his personal association with Lord Ganesha. Thus he does not fall into an abyss. What is the abyss? It is the way of adharma and the fate of those who neglect religious practices or fall from any vows they may have taken along the way. There are 5 abysses, and they are the exact opposites in vibration to the first 5 Shaktis so carefully guarded by Lord Ganesha. The first abyss is inharmonious conditions within the home, fighting and squabbling among those who are near and dear to each other. This makes strong samskaras, or scars in the subconscious mind, and begins to create a subconscious that opposes any kind of furtherance of religious life. The first, therefore, is the deepest abyss and the most difficult to rise out of. Said another way, spiritual progress is not possible if one expresses devotion at the temple, but then comes home and expresses anger to family members. The second abyss is inharmonious conditions of misunderstandings allowed to exist without apology, recompense, or forgiveness between acquaintances, friends, and relatives not living in the immediate home. The third abyss is that of worry and trouble. The courts of law handle this one, the collection agencies, and displeased customers. Lack of courtesy in business affairs, the borrowing and the lending of money, all together throw their power into making a luscious, comfortable, luxurious abyss of inharmonious conditions within the business world. The fourth abyss is a most treacherous one, and even though some may have avoided falling in the first 3, they may still find themselves in this one, turning their back on culture, scholarship, serious literature, and philosophy, despising music, art, drama, and the dance, ridiculing religious people and their practices, content with the libertine, dull, drab life of material things. The fifth abyss is the dismal condition one experiences when devoid of the childlike spontaneity of spiritual giving, worship, and religious service. When this abyss grips and shrouds the soul, it is the negative vibration felt by the person who feels nothing when he goes to the temple, sees the deity as a piece of stone or metal, and who observes and faults those around him. In the realm of Lord Murugan, there are no abysses. Neither the 6th darshan nor the 7th have a corresponding abyss. However, once these 2 darshans are sought for, through the practice of Kundalini Yoga, the force of them will fling the yogi back into the 5 positive darshans of the Lord, or 1 or more of the 5 abysses of the Asuras. It is plain to see that the doors of each abyss must be firmly closed, sealed off, before serious yoga practice is sought for or performed. There are 13 vibratory rates in all. 8 are positive and 5 are negative. Within all of them, beings live in the first world and the second world. The Devas and the Asuras are thusly explained. In Hindu mythology, there is as much reference made to the Asura as to the Deva. And this is because the Devas live within the first and second worlds in the first 5 Shaktis. The Asuras live within the first and second worlds within the first 5 negative force fields. It is this that makes duality seem real, and it is all of Lord Shiva, both the negative and the positive. The Asuras and the Devas within the realm of Lord Ganesha. Each Asura could well be likened to a Deva in an abyss, not to be feared but prayed for, and lifted out into the harmonious force fields. Asuric forces are not a counterpart to good, nor do they equally balance good. They are counterbalanced by the 6th, 7th, and 8th darshans. Lord Murugan, when invoked by the devotee through his veil of wisdom, dispels Asuric forces and lifts the soul from darkness, just as he did in the instance of Surapadma. Our final part is a few thoughts about the Guru. Some Hindus select a Guru who is no longer living. They place his picture on their wall and altar and study his writings. I call this a safe Guru because he will never ask you to do something you do not want to do. Whereas a living Satguru will, in fact, quite often ask you to do exactly what you do not want to do. Being obedient and doing what the Satguru has requested may prove to be quite challenging. However, in accomplishing the task, you will have made progress on the spiritual path, for he sees better than you do the karmas of your life and how you can overcome them. Let's take as an example a disciple who is quite afraid of public speaking. This fear is based upon a few experiences in school in which he did very poorly in speaking in front of his class. These experiences convince him that others are better than he is. It would be natural for the Guru to ask him to do that very thing. For example, to speak in front of a large satsang group every week until he overcomes his fear of speaking in public. These positive accomplishments improve his self-concept to the point where he realizes he is neither greater nor lesser than anyone else, because, in truth, he is the divine being within him. He is not the outer personality, the ego. Rather, he is the inner soul. This change would not have occurred if he did not have a living Satguru directing him to do exactly what he was least inclined to do.